in the middle of a howling snowstorm, deep in a wilderness where trees stood tall and silence usually reigned. A man named Ethan sat by the fire in his small cabin. He was rugged mid-30s, with dark hair and a beard that made him look like he belonged to this wild place. His life had been quiet. Just him, his dog Milo, and the solitude of nature. Then came the knock. Not from a person, but from something unexpected. A sound so soft, almost lost in the wind, but Ethan heard it. Confused, he opened the door to find a wild Mustang standing in the storm, soaked in snow, trembling, with a wound on its side. Its eyes met his, not with fear, not with anger, but with something else. A plea. Without thinking, Ethan stepped aside and let the horse inside. The cabin was warm compared to the icy world outside. Ethan draped a blanket over Mustang's shivering body. The horse was thin, ribs visible, legs shaky. But there was something deeper in its gaze, like it had come from more than just shelter. He knelt beside it, gently brushing his hand through its matted mane. At first, the Mustang flinched, wary of this human who had opened his door. But slowly, it relaxed into the warmth, trusting. Ethan cleaned the wound carefully. It wasn't fresh. It had been there for days. How had this animal survived alone in the storm? He worked silently, speaking softly as he did. "You're safe now." And though he didn't know if the horse understood, he felt something shift. A bond, subtle at first, but real. Days passed. The storm finally eased, leaving behind a thick layer of untouched snow. Inside the cabin, Ethan kept a steady routine, caring for the Mustang, feeding it scraps, watching it grow stronger. But questions lingered. Why had the horse come to him? It didn't have a brand, which was unusual. Most horses around here were either owned or part of wild herds. This one was different. There was something ancient in its eyes, something knowing. One afternoon, while fixing tools near the fireplace, Ethan heard a faint whinny from outside. He looked out the window. The Mustang stood just beyond the porch, head raised, ears twitching. It turned and walked toward the forest. Curious, Ethan followed. The Mustang led him deeper into the woods than he'd ever gone before. Snow crunched underfoot, the silence heavy. After what felt like hours, they reached a clearing. There, the Mustang stopped in front of a large rock. Ethan approached, brushing away snow to reveal a strange symbol carved into the stone. Sharp angles, lines forming a pattern unlike anything he'd seen. His fingers grazed the surface. A pulse of energy ran up his arm. He pulled back, heart pounding. The Mustang watched him closely. That night, unable to sleep, Ethan returned to the clearing alone. The moonlight lit the area, shadows stretching across the snow. Again, he touched the symbol, and again, the same tingling sensation. Then, a sound. A low whinny echoed through the trees. He turned. No Mustang. But then, from the darkness, a figure emerged, tall, cloaked in shadow. Ethan's breath caught. The figure didn't speak, only pointed to the ground. Ethan looked down. Another symbol, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Before he could react, the figure vanished. Heart racing. Ethan turned, and there stood the Mustang, watching him with calm understanding. It hadn't brought him here by accident. This journey had meaning. Over the next few weeks, the Mustang grew strong. Its coat gleamed, its body no longer frail. And Ethan changed too. He had always preferred solitude, but now he found himself questioning everything. Who was this horse? Why had it come to him? He started taking the Mustang out for rides. One day, they returned to the clearing. As Ethan traced the symbol again, a strange vibration pulsed through his body. The Mustang let out a soft whinny. And suddenly he understood this horse was guiding him, showing him something bigger. They weren't just companions. They were connected. On the morning after another long night of thought, Ethan stood by the window. The sun rose slowly, casting golden light across the snow-covered land. Outside, the Mustang moved gracefully, strong, proud. Ethan stepped out, pulling his coat tight against the cold. The Mustang turned to him. No fear in those eyes anymore, only trust. Ethan mounted the horse, and together they rode toward the horizon. Wherever they were going, they would face it together. Because some bonds are forged not by words, but by fate. Sometimes the most unexpected connections change us forever. Asterisk, asterisk. If you found this story moving, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing for more tales of resilience, mystery, and the power of connection. Now, picture yourself walking to the snow-covered forest, feeling the wind in your hair, the silence broken only by the rhythm of hooves beneath you. Picture the moment when something unknown calls to you, not with words, but with purpose. That's what happened to Ethan. After the encounter with the shadowy figure, he couldn't ignore the pull anymore. He began researching old maps, forgotten legends, and stories passed down by elders in nearby towns. Each clue led him further into the wilderness, deeper into the mystery of the Mustang and the symbol. He learned that the carving on the rock was part of an ancient tribe's mark, an emblem believed to protect those chosen by spirit animals. The Mustang, he realized, wasn't just any horse. It was a guardian, a guide, a piece of something much older than time. With each discovery, Ethan felt more certain that his path was unfolding exactly as it should. The Mustang never left his side. They traveled together through forests, over mountains, and along frozen rivers. At times, the journey was hard. Nights were cold, paths uncertain. But Ethan never felt alone. And as seasons passed, the once quiet man who had lived in isolation became someone different, someone braver, more open, more connected. He started helping others, guiding lost travelers, rescuing animals trapped in the wild, sharing the wisdom he had gained from the Mustang. He still didn't understand everything, but maybe he wasn't meant to. Some things aren't about answers. They're about trust, about following the signs, even when they don't make sense. And sometimes, the greatest discoveries begin with a simple act of kindness, like opening your door to a stranger in the storm. So if you've ever felt a calling, heard a whisper in the wind, or met someone, or something that changed your life, don't ignore it. Follow it, because the universe speaks in many ways, even through a wounded Mustang in the snow. Moral: sometimes the most profound changes in our lives come from the least expected places. Trust the journey, follow your instincts, and believe in connections that shape who we become.